Why do I love viscerally brass instruments? Oh, there's a whole word behind a trumpet, a euphonium, a baritone horn, a trombone. I don't know. It sounds good to say this. I don't know the meaning. Anyway, um, there's something magical about playing an instrument and producing yourself the sound with a part of your body. These are the only instruments if that if you are detached from an instrument, there is still a sound that is produced. Actually, the the relationship between you and the instrument is visceral. Is you producing a sound and the instrument helping you transforming this raw, unpleasant, or okay, if you are not good, it sounds like farting. But if you're good, it's not. It sounds more like a bee flying, a wasp, uh, a fly. Then the instrument transforms this raw material into something very beautiful. Then you can change instrument, the same embouchure, the same fingering, boom, you have a sweeter sound, a soft sound, and something in the middle. So you start from the trumpet, the bright, warlike, assertive, cutting sound of a trumpet. Then you have the middle of the way, kind of sweeter but not so sweet sound of a cornet, and then you have the velvety, mellow, round sound of flugelhorn. You say, okay, you have a cornet, you have a clarinet, and you have a saxophone, right? But the saxophone has different fingerings than a clarinet. Then you have a slide trombone, the only instrument that has a slide, and you can have this effect that you cannot have on any other wind instrument. You can have this on a violins, you can have this on a slide guitar, Hawaiian guitar, but no other instrument in the brass family. Why? For some reason, either there is a soprano trombone, but generally it's difficult to play. All the instruments have a flare, cannot have a slide. So trombones are quite cylindrical. Maybe the thing that turns here around and is a little bit more conical than a bass trumpet, which is the bass version of a trumpet. Actually, it's a alt tenor version of a trumpet. You can have B flat, C, D, E flat. Then you have other instruments very like this. This, I spoke about this these days. I got it today. It's a very old mellophonium. So you have different sizes of instrument, and you have the same mouthpiece. This is the same mouthpiece of a cornet, but the cornet is B flat. This is F. That means you will never have a clarinet mouthpiece on any other thing than a B flat clarinet. What happens? You have a sound is different. It's velvety, but in a different way. It's the French horn sound. It's evocative. You don't know where it comes from. It takes the whole space like fog. You can put a hand inside and influence the sound. Then you have the big guns, those very conical. You start from a bass trumpet, then you move to the trombone or valve trombone, then you have the tenor horn, which in some countries is called baritone horn, is E flat, one octave lower, and you have euphonium that sounds like a soprano tuba, and then you have the tuba. Obviously, it's easier to move from one size of saxophone to the other than from trumpet to trombone. So you have to train your lips to play the trumpet and the trombone. You don't lose everything, but there are some differences, like speaking Italian and speaking Portuguese or French. They are Latin languages, but they have differences. Trumpets are the loudest brass, loudest wind instruments. They are used on battlefield. Actually, trumpets were at the beginning more used. They were used for practical purposes, to give signals from afar on the battlefield, for the arrival of kings or things, or arrival of an important person. Trumpets. Then for hunting, horns. Flugelhorn, it means side horn, were used on the side of people who were hunting. And you have this old family, and the only one who could play actually all the notes and melody was the trombone with the slide. With the invention of pistons, basically you direct the instead of going straight, with a series of holes, the air gets half, one, and 1.5, and so you can get all the notes. The whole family got a pass towards music and melodies rather than just ba 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 ba. Basically, trumpets, till the invention of valves, they were doing that. I know. I was kind of playing for twice actually for a symphonic orchestra that was like shit, but that's another kettle of fish. But I realized that the part in Beethoven and Mozart of trumpets was very, very limited. I mean, we accentuate some parts of but we never played melodies. With the invention of pistons, wow, we could do everything. And they experimented a lot in the 19th centuries with newfangled instruments. So the whole family, before there was such only trumpet, the post horn became the cornet, the French horn, natural with no valves, became the French horn, the double French horn, F and B flat, the same instrument. so they invented the whole family by the same sax horn. You have all the kind of flugelhorn from the soprano, alto, tenor, euphonium, tuba, a whole family, and you have even instruments tuned the same way but with different kind of bore. So you have valve trombone, baritone horn, euphonium, as I said before. Wow! This instrument can have a lot of mutes, and you can manipulate the sound in a way that no other wind instrument can. Obviously, there are things that saxophone can do, and flute can't, or vice versa. But generally speaking, the brass family share the same way we produce the sound, buzzing lips, which I mean creating air that gets out, and lips don't want to they don't want the air to go out, and that creates a tension, a friction, and that produces a sound. While with woodwind instruments you have reed, double reed, the size, a cut on the instrument to make the instrument sound like a recorder and flutes. Yes, basically these are the three ways. Single reed. I think it's like a little piece of cane, very thin. Single reed with a mouthpiece, a double reed with no mouthpiece, single reed, clarinet, saxophone, double reed, oboe, cor anglais, bassoon, this family. And then you have the family of flutes, flute, and recorders. Okay? So, we usually have our instrument in front of us or like this. We never have the instrument going down with the bell going down. And the air gets out only from here, not from other places like the other have holes. In the past there were some trumpets that have 3 or 4, I don't know, micro small holes to play all the notes. That's where Baroque. And there was an instrument called ophicleide that basically means office, fide in modern Greek, means serpent, snake, and kleide, kleidi, key. Keys, and the instrument had the shape of. From this instrument, Adolf Sax most likely had the inspiration for the shape of the saxophone. So there was a cornet with keys, but they didn't last long. Ophicleide actually is one of the brass instruments that has a sound. The brass instruments has the less of a brass sound, more similar to woodwinds are. This ophicleides are not used anymore. And the French horn. French horn in a symphony orchestra stay close to the woodwind instruments rather than the brass instruments. Okay, it can be brassy, but has a kind of sound that is not typical of the other brass instruments. So actually I think the French horn is one of the, I think it's the most difficult. I don't think it's the best, because being difficult doesn't necessarily mean being the best, but the French horn, sure, and then the volume is so low, is an instrument that it's quite different from the other brass instruments. A very thin entrance here, input, and the mouthpiece is so small, but the instrument is tuned lower than a trumpet, 1 octave or even more. So it's usually a trumpet player can, with some difficulty, play the trombone or vice versa. I have a French horn, and let's say 80% of my skills on brass instruments are lost. Surely, if you play another brass instrument, you're facilitated. It's easier for you than for somebody who has never played any other instrument, but not so much. Okay, well, those instruments are used in every, specifically a trumpet, also the trombone. In every kind of music, you can have trumpets in classical music, symphonic music. You can have in popular folk music. Okay, not so much in country music, but folk music, popular music, rhythm and blues, soul, jazz, ragtime, salsa, merengue, not so much in hard rock and rock and roll. Saxophone is more diffused and popular in modern music, let's speak out, than trumpet. Not so much, but more. But trumpet are played in classical music more than saxophones. You can have trumpet in very old music, different trumpets, but trumpets, and trumpet in symphony orchestras. Okay? Goodbye.